And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is Frederick Mathews, who has had 2 near-death experiences, and he sees UFOs. Frederick, thanks for joining me, and welcome.
Thank you for having me, Jeff.
Let's start with your first NDE and go from there.
My first NDE took place when I was about 10 or 11 years old. And I was playing in the hallway in the housing project where I grew up at. In this particular building, I lived on the first floor with my grandmother at the time. And I was playing with some of my friends in the hallway. And if you've ever been in the housing projects, those floors are like industrial grade, like Home Depot floors, very hard. And so I was running past another older kid, and he stuck his foot out and tripped me, and I kind of went up in the air. Somehow came down on the back of my head, and my head hit the floor, and it just bounced like a ball, came to a slow stop, and it felt a very sharp pain in my head just before everything and the next thing I know, I was looking at myself laying on the floor, and my friend was running down the hallway to get his dad. His dad comes out, and I'm watching all of this, kind of, I don't know. I always kind of tell my friends, when I tell a story to some of my friends, I was like I was floating like I was Casper, because I was still a kid, so that was my reference. Like when I talk about it, even though it was the past, I didn't tell anybody around the time it happened. I couldn't, but when I tell a story now, kind of like, because I'm trying to help people understand the perspective, and so that's just the artist in me. So as he ran down to get his dad, I watched his dad pick me up, carry me down the stairs. As he's carrying me down the stairs, I'm like, yeah, Les, but he couldn't hear me. Couldn't hear me at all. Couldn't feel me or hear me. But it was almost like I was levitating with him. I'm trying to, explain it without it looking crazy, somebody's mind trying to imagine all of this. And so as we get down the stairs, and they take me in my grandmother's apartment, and they lay me on the couch, my body on the couch. I'm watching this now. I'm a spectator, so uh, apparently I'm not in my body somehow. I'm out of my body, and I'm looking around the room, and I see, there's always a lot of people in my grandmother's house, which, I had a lot of uncles, and there was just a lot going on in that house all the time. 5-bedroom apartment. And it was just like the hangout spot where you could come and be safe and and be okay. You know what I mean? And so nobody's really paying attention to me. They kind of like waiting on the ambulance, I guess. And I'm walking around the room with what I think I'm moving around the room somehow, and I'll see other people that I knew that I thought had recently passed away, and but it didn't frighten me. I had no fear. Especially being a kid, you would think that, you know, all of this would spook you a little bit, but I felt invincible. It was like a calm that was over my body. Like I just knew that there was nothing that could harm me no more. If I know it may not quite make sense, but you could feel it. You could feel like fear really didn't register at all. And so I I think this probably lasted about 10 or 15 minutes, because it couldn't lasted more than 10 or 15 minutes, because the ambulance got there, and if I assume what hospital they came from, it wasn't that far away. So, um, and that's the only thing I had to go by to try to gauge a time frame. I looked over at my body laying on the couch, because they thought I was just laying with my eyes closed. Nobody had checked my pulse or anything, obviously, because I'm outside of my body. And so I'm looking at myself, and I just did what I felt like made sense to me, which was I walked over, where I felt like I walked over and got back inside my body. No pain or anything just yet. So the paramedics get there. They set me up in a wheelchair, and I guess I was like slumped over there. I don't know why they put me in a wheelchair, but they put me in a wheelchair. And as they're rolling me out of the building, as they hit the first couple of steps, that pain came back into my head, and I could feel my body again, and it was just horrendous, the worst headache I could imagine from concussion, basically. And uh, so it kind of got kind of downplayed because I didn't tell anybody about the experience until the movie Ghost came out. When the movie Ghost came out, I was like, oh, that's what happened to me. That's exactly what happened. I was outside of my body and I was looking at my body. Yeah. Just like they couldn't hear him and they couldn't, it was the same way for me. Couldn't nobody could hear me, nobody could feel me. So I got excited for a while. I felt like I was gonna be able to finally like let the world know, but it didn't go like that. It's kind of like people were still, I guess when I look at it in hindsight, they just wasn't ready. People just wasn't ready for anything like that. So I kind of kept it to myself. And then some years went by, and another friend of mine had a accident with he got shot, and it was an accident. And so he was telling us about how he saw us all looking at him when they were putting him in the back of the ambulance. Uh, he could see us all looking and standing around looking sad, and he saw himself inside the ambulance. And so I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So I finally opened up a little bit about it then, a little bit more. So I was like, okay, it's something to this. So years go by again. And then not coming up, other things happen in between there. I was always kind of like having these intuitions or hearing these voices. I feel like my artistic talent kind of began to blossom at that time. But like I said, I can't think of any distinct differences in my personality or character. I have been like drawing and painting stuff since I was like 4 years old. So I was having those experiences a long time. I just didn't know what they were. I would just like listen to my instincts. I called it my instincts or whatever, but I would literally sometimes get warnings like, don't go down that street, don't do this, don't do that. And like it was almost as if somebody was talking to me clearly, but I wasn't hearing the voice. It was like I was translating to me in my own voice, like I was repeating what they just said to me, basically. And I'm just now really fully understanding that. Now that I understand what spirit guides are and all of that, I just truly believe those are my spirit guides. This come in handy growing up on the south side of Chicago, and having being a young adult, young adolescent in the streets, growing up in the hood, so to speak. We call it the hood, and yeah, I can say it probably saved my life a few times. Just listening to that intuition.
Are you literally hearing your guide's voice, or do you get like a download of information, or just you have a knowingness like, don't cross the street? It's not good over there.
It's not a voice. I could say that. Um, it's it comes through a download is closer to it, and the the word they gave me was it's not the speed of light or the speed of sound, it's the speed of consciousness. So as fast as I could, before I could even speak out the thought, they know what I want to ask, or you understand what I'm saying? It's like in some of my videos, a couple of my videos, I'm talking to the craft and it's responding. I had to remember to speak out loud because I've learned to talk without using my mouth, and it would do what I'm asking it to do. So I was kind of like, I didn't get no sleep for about 2 or 3 months because I was just up taping and and experimenting and doing whatever I could to try to communicate with these crafts, I guess. that I started seeing about a year ago.
All right, before we talk about those crafts, let's move on to your second NDE.
My second NDE happened in 2019, July 5th, 2019. I'll never forget. I can finally tell this story without bawling my eyes out because it was very emotional. Um, I went in to have surgery. It was supposed to be, outpatient surgery. I was supposed to, go home same day. They told me that if it was, any complications or whatever, because was a potential for it to be complicated, hernia mesh revision, which is the removal of an old mesh and replaced with a new one. And so what happened was I had the surgery. It lasted 2.5 to 3 hours longer, was what they told me. And they had to rush and close me up because one, I wouldn't stop bleeding, which is what my surgeon says, man, you just wouldn't stop bleeding. So they closed me up and sent me home. They still sent me home, they told me they'd monitor me if there were any complications. So I get home, they told me that I could eat. So I went ahead and I ate. And my wife told me, go, lay down and go to sleep. So it was about 7 p.m. And she said, your next dose of pain meds will be about midnight. So I said, okay. So just wake me up and give it to me. She came in to wake me up. And when she woke me up, I just remember opening my eyes and being kind of blurry. And I she was helping me up. And I just remember going limp. Like, I don't remember anything. I think I fell back on the bed. I don't remember, but I was out. And I just remember hearing her say, "Don't do this to me. Don't, no, 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 don't you do this to me," or whatever. And I was like, "What?" It took me a second to register, like, "Hey." Then I saw the darkness, and once I felt that presence again that I felt during the first NDE, instantly knew what was happening to me. Instantly, I was like, "Oh, I'm dying." Like, "Hey, no, 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 not right now." And I was very kind of casual about it. In the moment, to me, the way I asked was kind of like, "Hey, not right now, not right now," as if I knew that they could do it, that they could send me back. It was like I knew it. I can't explain it, but I said, and so next thing I know, I woke up just like I was never there. But my wife said, you know, your pulse had faded because she has background in allied health, so she knows CPR and all that kind of stuff. And so she did what you call a sternal rub on me or whatever, but I popped right back up just like I'm talking to you right now. But I felt that presence that I even feel that presence when they're out in the sky. I feel that same presence. Like I told my wife, I have a video I took yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? And I told my wife, I said, "Hey, I haven't seen them in a while. I asked them to come. We'll see if they'll come." And they came. And I got that video. It's only a few seconds because sometimes if I'm tired, I'll just videotape it for a few seconds and I'm like, all right, I'm gone. Because I have, some health issues, health challenges. So I have to watch my stress level and, how much I have to make sure I get my rest. Yeah. So, yeah, my second one was something. To be rushed back to the ER. The paramedics did come in and took me out, and they realized I had internal bleeding, but they missed it the first time. They missed it the first time. They sent me back to I went back to the ER, made it back there, and the one paramedic, and he was ex-military, and then me and him kind of clicked because I'm ex-army, and so he said, I said, hey man, you military? I said, what branch? I said, I could tell the way you move. He said, yeah, I'm a Marine. I said, cool. And I talked to them paramedics all the way to the hospital after I threw up all over the back of their ambulance. Uh, and my blood pressure was 76 over 63. And I was talking to them like I'm talking to you right now. And I just knew I wasn't gonna close my eyes again. I wasn't gonna test it. So I stayed conscious for another 48 hours without closing my eyes. I was just like waiting because I had to go back because they sent me home. I had to go back. They told me I had blood. I was bleeding internally so bad. I had blood leaking out of one of the surgical wounds, and they sewed me up right there in the ER without any numbing or anything. I told them to go ahead. It didn't matter. I'm like, man, I've been poked and prodded on so much it doesn't matter. so so they ended up sending me back. That paramedic, he couldn't believe it. He was looking at me like, I know this guy got internal bleeding. It looked like they sent him home. So they sent me back, and I got home and I tied my wounds down as if they were gunshot wounds. I started using my military training. Now I'm not a combat veteran, but I am a veteran. So I tied them down real tight, and because I knew I wanted to go to sleep, but it seemed like I was going through too many bandages. I was changing my bandages like every hour. And I'm like, this is not right. It's bleeding too much. So next thing I know, I fall asleep and I hear a voice say, Fred. Now I heard this voice. It said, Fred, Fred, real loud. I woke up and then I just felt the pain. And I'm not going to get too far into detail, but I had blood that had pooled down in my lower extremities to the point where it was like the size of a soccer ball almost. And it was painful, painful. And I told my wife I could barely stand up, and I'm like, come on, we gotta get back to the hospital. We gotta get back to the hospital. So something's wrong. Something's wrong. My heart is racing. I can't control I can't, I'm getting ready to go in a shock. Get me back to the hospital. So she finally got up and drove me back to the hospital, and took them another 2 hours before they found it. But they found it that I was still bleeding inside. Had to go through IR surgery, emergency IR surgery. They had me up there with the gunshot wound victims at a trauma hospital in Chicago.
Now, your wife experienced the NDE with you, right?
Yes, she said that she saw what I described to her about what I saw. I said, what? She said, yeah, I was there with you in that, wherever you were, I was with you. And I say, well, I couldn't hear from my experience, from my perspective. After her voice faded, I didn't hear her no more until I woke up. But she said that she was there. She experienced it, and that's not the first time I heard that. My godmother said that when her husband passed, she was there. She was in it with him, and that's why I say I think it's got to do something with because the stronger your love bond is, the more privileges you have.
So you were in the black void and it was completely dark, and she was also in the dark with you and saw nothing?
Except I didn't see her or hear her in the void, but she said she was there.
And she saw you as a spirit?
She didn't say she physically saw me as a spirit or anything like that. She just know that she felt that she was with me because she was in that darkness. She said I was, whatever it was, I experienced it too.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what? She said, yes. I've never really like deeply questioned her about it because it seemed like such a very small window of experience that she had versus what I had. So I thought maybe I need to ask her some more questions about it because, not to my knowledge, she didn't tell me that she physically saw a spirit or anything like that. But she did say that she was in my presence. And sometimes I do know that in that state of being, I guess you want to call it, what you're able to sense is off the charts. Like your senses, like as far as like emotions, except the emotion of fear is not present at all. And that's what makes it kind of easy to regurgitate for me, because I think fear would block it.
Now, you said that the same feeling of a presence that you had when you were in the black void, feeling your spirit guides, is the same feeling that you get when you see the crafts.
Yes.
Is it possible that your spirit guides are angels visiting you or ETs inside of a craft?
I think there's more than one thing happening. I think yes, those are my guides. And then sometimes they're my guides and, well, some of your guys are passed on relatives or whatever you want to call it. And I can sense who it is. I just don't, until I learn more about it, I don't get too deep into like trying to describe it because I want to make sure I'm describing the right thing. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Do you have any of the video of the crafts or anything on that phone that you're using?
Yes. Okay, this is yesterday evening, and I hadn't seen in a minute. Well, I hadn't been looking for them. They may have been there, but I hadn't seen them in maybe about a week. So I just, do my little meditation thing, and it's like I send a signal, send a signal out. All I had to do is think it and think what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go, and they showed up. They came because I hadn't seen them in a few days. Well, not a few days, but a few weeks. And here it is. Now I'm not talking to them on this one.
You have low bandwidth, so it comes in slow and choppy, but at least we get
Okay.
the idea that it looks like some type of orb that changes colors.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was pretty early in the evening. It had just gotten dark.
When you were looking at this, did you feel the presence like you felt during your NDE?
Not as strongly because I think it's like I felt them. I knew they were there. I went out to look for them and I seen them. But I did ask them to come.
Okay.
So I kind of, like I said, that's the hardest thing to explain is the I guess what to call it telepathy.
All
It's the
right,
hardest thing to explain.
let's take a look at another one.
Okay, this was a different day. This was about a month ago, and this was right up above my house. The previous one was right out the back of my house, but this one was straight right up above my house. This was the first time they came right up above the house. I was actually talking to them on this video. Hold on a second. See if I can get some volume here.
Do you think that this is an energy being or an actual craft?
I think that's an energy being.
And this is like a plasma looking being,
Yeah.
like what Chris Bledsoe sees, right?
Yep. This is it. When I look at his videos, I see the same thing I'm seeing, basically.
Do you think that that being is one of your spirit guides?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty sure. Okay. This here is the first night that they called me to the window.
Now, what do you mean they called you to the window?
Well, I was just sitting on my computer and something just said, you should come look out the window.
No,
Like that's the message I received. That's how it translated to me
mhm.
was come look out the window. And I knew what to look for, look up to the sky. Because like I said, I've been hearing getting these messages for a long time. I've just never got these images to go with it.
Okay.
This is new. This just started like last year.
All right.
And so this was the first day. It's around this time last year. And as you can see, I circled them. Now you see how close that is to the power line.
Yeah.
So they even told me to reach out to a friend of mine that I knew when I lived in Atlanta. And I didn't understand. I was like, okay, it took me a minute, but I did it. And when I called him, he was in Vegas getting ready to get on a plane going back to Atlanta. And he said, well, man, I'm about to get on a plane right now. I said, I don't know why, but Source want me to contact you for it. And when he said he's about to get on a plane, I said, oh, you must have a window seat. That's how fast the transmission download came to me. It's like I just knew what to say. I said, oh, you must have a window seat. He said, yeah. I said, okay. Look out. Then just that fast, like I said, at the speed of consciousness, they told me. Just that quick. It was just like, okay, look out the window and tell me what you see we'll talk with you later when you land. And I got the whole text thread. I'm going to show you here. It says UFO. I say, you must have a window seat. Thumbs up. I say, yep, that's an angelic being. And like I said, I didn't really know what to call it at the time. Been contacting me since November, 3 to 4 times a week. So as you can see there, that's the photo out. You see the wing? This is out the window. That's what he saw.
Cool.
I said, awesome. They're my friends, my family, your family. That's all I knew to tell them. That's like a lot of stuff, like I said, it comes as like a download. That's the best way to describe it. That's just a photo there.
This is a photo of a light being.
Yeah, just as this I was told that this was a Lyran light ship.
So that's an actual craft then.
Yes, that's what I was told. That a friend of mine who her name is Christy Wixon, eternally starborn. She's a Lyran starseed. Well, hybrid, she says.
Do you feel that your ability to see UFOs is the result of your NDEs?
Yes. It's like I came back with some, I want to say memory. I have a memory of the experience, but I do have a lot of things that I'm starting to understand more from like what appear to be dreams or astral traveling and all types of different experiences that all make sense now more than they did before, put it like that.
Do you think that your ability to see the UFOs is because you raised your frequency?
Yes, I do.
What does it mean to raise your frequency? I mean, are you a nicer person, a more honest, better person? Or does raising your frequency mean that your awareness has changed in some way?
I think it's a combination of everything you just said. And that it kind of happened for me indirectly, even though that's like, it ain't like I was like, oh, I'm gonna cleanse my soul. It wasn't like that. It was just like, that's just who I am as a person, is like I'm passionate about catching the bad guys and passionate about fairness to others and things like that. Um, and I wasn't always that way, as passionate about it. I was always that way in general, but not as passionate. And so now I've learned to be a lot more crafty with bringing that to the world. And so it's made me a better person. Just being in the presence of, I like to call them angelic beings, when they're near or when I just think of it, it brings so much peace and calm over my body, over my being. I can't, is the best way I can explain it. Um, and, and my wife will, you know, attest to that. She would contest that I have become a better person within the last year. I'm just a lot kinder. I've always been a kind person, But on the flip side, I was always like a no nonsense, real hardcore person, like, and that part of me is toned down. This is I've learned that it's not necessary. Because I used to always try to like convince people, and it was real, like, no, you got to believe, because I'm having this experience. And then more I learn about individual life paths and incarnations and all of these things, it all makes sense. It's making my world make sense that I've lived my entire life. Here's a photo, an image I want to share with you that is zoomed in image of a still shot. Tell me
Wow,
what that is.
good question. So if somebody knows what that is, be sure to type it in the comments below. Now that I'm looking at it, I see two eyes that are closed, a nose that's round, and a mouth that kind of tilts to the left. Do you see that? A face?
Yeah. Yeah, but at the same time, I see like something that looks like a scroll that's rolled out. But I did see this shape on a video that Billy Carson did, and it was inside of the pyramid. He said that this was a portal. That was the only place I seen this shape. That the closest to it. I have the video. I saved it somewhere. But yeah, that was the only place I saw that anything close to it.
When you ask them to come, how do you do it? Do you say it out loud? Do you just speak it in your mind silently?
Silently in my with my heart and my soul, my being. It's like as if you were. It's like the way I do it is. It's like if you were to walk in a room that's completely silent, and you were to yell at somebody with your mouth, but then walk in a room and do it with just as much conviction and passion as you did with your mouth, but without your mouth.
Hmm.
You get it?
Yeah.
It makes sense?
Yeah. Thank you. Since your NDEs and all that's happened to you, what do you think your purpose is?
Oh, to bring love to the world through my art.
What kind of art do you make?
I started out in ethnic fine art, so African American fine art, where I did like a lot of images of the culture, mostly like love and spirituality, uh, Christianity, a lot of prayer, things like that. But over the past few years, I got more off into abstracts.
Are you a painter or a photographer?
Yes, I'm a painter.
Okay.
And let me see here. I've been painting since I was a child, but I really didn't start painting professionally until I was like 29,
Hmm.
28. And no, before that, I started using an airbrush. I was painting with an airbrush from the time I was about 18. I did that till I was about 30. Then I started learning how to paint with a paintbrush.
Do you paint any elements of your NDEs or angels or
You,
UFOs?
you know, that has been a new found decision. I guess you want to call it. I decided that I am going to start doing it in the near future
Cool.
because I do believe that's part of why I've had the experience is to, I believe that, I wouldn't say that I believe, I know that I'm part of the disclosure of, of these beings and other, I'm still figuring out what to call because I don't want to be uh, disrespectful, for lack of better words.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's like, uh, it's a journey and I'm still learning a lot.
Where can people go to see your art? Do you have a website?
Yes, you can go to fredmatthewsart.com, and that will be back up and running by next week, hopefully by the time you air this.
I was going to either air this tomorrow or the next day.
Yeah, it should be okay. But they can find my social media, and they'll always be able to find my website through my social media. Either way, because I was going to open a gallery, and then that didn't fall through, so I had to go in a different direction. So now I'm back to getting my online stuff back on track.
Where can they find you on social media?
At TikTok, I'm Fred Mathews Art. At Instagram.
If people want to reach out to you and chat with you or ask you questions, are you open to that?
No problem. Yep.
Where do they, how do they contact you that way? Still through your social media?
Just through my social media, or they can email me at fredmatthewsart@gmail.com.
All right.
And I'm open to interviews and whatever may like I said, I signed up for this apparently before I came here. Basically.
Do you think that you are an ET having a human experience?
Part of me does. I still have trouble saying it sometimes, but like I said, it's not because of my reactions. It's more so because of the reactions of others. And like I said, I don't want to interfere with anyone's life path, so I'm very careful with how I interact. I was raised Christian,
mm-hmm.
And I've always been more of a spiritual person. I was raised around the Nation of Islam as well, so I knew a lot of different things, and I even heard the minister Farrakhan talk about ETs. He had a abduction experience.
Really? I mean,
Yeah.
You heard this in person or like on a video?
No, yeah, it's video. You can look that up. It's video.
Wow, I didn't know that.
I think I actually have the video on my phone somewhere.
That's cool.
Yeah, but yeah, he speaks about it.
Frederick, before we finish up, can you leave us with a last positive message?
Forgive and be kind. Forgive, be kind, and sow love into the world. It's the best thing I could tell you. That's what they tell me to tell you.
Frederick, thank you for your message, and thank you for being my guest.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.